Good afternoon and welcome to We're All Essential, the CDG Assistant Costume Designers panel. I'm Ivy Thade, your Vice President here at the Costume Designers Guild. Thank you. Today I'm thrilled to be joined by these very talented panelists of our CDG members whose work spans from TV, film, commercials, producing, and even contestants on a reality show. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and what they're working on.
Hi, I'm David Matuico, currently the USACD on Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 2.
Hi, I'm Shaylin Byron, and I'm currently the ACD on Avatar: Fire and Ash.
Hi, I am Brittany Chapman. I am currently the ACD on 911, the regular OG.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Carino, and I just finished a new show for Netflix, No Good Deed, and I'm taking a little bit of time off at the moment.
Hi, I'm Stanley Hudson. I am currently working on the first season of Papa's House, ACD.
So I'd like to start with you, David. You've been our ACD rep for the past 5 years, and you've seen the industry change during our time on the board. Would you say that the skills of the ACDs have changed, and what would you say are some of the most important skills to have as a teammate?
Yes. Well, not so much that they've changed, but they've expanded. I would say the skill set that's required has grown exponentially, specifically with the speed that things happen in and the digital age. 10 years ago, we were doing boards with, clippings and printed pictures and collaging them together. And even the running of the department was done analog on paper, receipts, submitting, all that kind of stuff. And now it's all digital presentations. Every meeting is by Zoom. All of your paperwork is electronic now. And just the speed that everything happens at. The show I'm on now last year had 6 weeks more prep than we have this year. And the show has not gotten smaller. That wasn't their reasoning. Of course, it's all about money. So things happen in such a compressed way now that everything you do has to be done faster, and a lot more, at least for my own self, responsibility has been put my way because the designers just can't be in all the places at once. And my show is shooting in Vancouver. And because the prep time was so short, the designer had 2 weeks here before she had to leave. So we ended up doing, all of the principal fittings without her. The first, encounter of the principal fittings happened here with me and our key before she got to meet them. So it's those sorts of things. And now that she's up there, it's a large show. There's a lot of specialty things. That's happening more with guest cast down here. And she's often not available to be in the meetings at this point. So I'm going to concept meetings and presenting her ideas and boards and getting feedback and all that kind of stuff, which I feel like 10 years ago, that really wasn't happening. I was present for them, but not the only one in the room representing. So I feel like that's a big change in the way we're working now. Like we are literally essential and front and center and part of the whole process.
And speaking of those skills, Shaylin, as an ACD who's working in the digital costume assets for Avatar, which has recently developed a new development in our department, what sort of processes or knowledges did you need to know when you started with Deborah Scott? You started in 2019 to now.
Yeah, if I can, I'll just explain a little bit about our costume process, just for context. So on Avatar, our process is normally that we develop costumes 2D with our illustrators. Once that gets approved, it goes to our specialty costume manufacturers, which we use What a Workshop in New Zealand, and they make all of our Na'vi costumes physically in person to human proportions, and then we get them photogrammetry scanned in a booth, so you get a 3D scan of the physical costume. We take that scan and all of our materials and we package it up and give it to our VFX team and our animation vendors. And then it goes through a secondary costume process where we do virtual fittings in models. We look at the textures, the materiality, how they move. So it's this symbiotic, but clearly two separate, a very physical development process and then a very digital development process. So when I started, I was coming from live action, and I have like costume design degree and a fashion degree from FITM. So at least I had like basic knowledge of like the Adobe suite. I can use Microsoft Office. I can get on a server. Like I semi-competent on a computer. So when I first started, just being able to have those foundational skills, I quickly got, my department quickly realized like, okay, we can trust her on the computer. She can at least bridge some gaps. And our office was situated right next to the VFX department's office. And I had never worked with the VFX department before, and I just thought it was fascinating. And I quickly just got a really strong working relationship. They were really cool people. So I was constantly in their office asking them like, oh, what do we do? Like, what are you doing? Can you explain this to me? I just want to learn. And in doing that, I was learning about the virtual fitting process, how we needed to transfer data, just sort of these steps and posts that we're not normally privy to, just because I was interested in it. And I remember a couple months into the project, I sent Deb like a lot, it was like 5-paragraph long email about why I should be in her virtual fittings. And someone on her team replied and was like, in summary, she wants to be in the fittings. It was so embarrassing. But I think she appreciated that I clearly like cared about it and I was interested in it. And so she let me in. And when I started going to those virtual spaces, I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on here at all. This is such a new world for me. And so I looked at it kind of like how we need knowledge about garment construction when you're doing fittings or you're working with your table people, your seamstresses. The more garment construction knowledge you have, the easier your notes are going to be able to be transferred. And so I just thought about it like that. Like, okay, I need to be able to speak these animation people, these CG people's language, and that way they'll be able to listen to us and what we're trying to do. And if we can work in their parameters, then we can get our notes pushed through easier. And so I just started learning on my own time and my own dime. Like I started doing all these workshops. So I took workshops in like Maya and Blender and 3D softwares. And I watched so many YouTube videos on like VFX processes, animation workflows. Like I just wanted to understand what was going on. And I was quickly realizing that this was helping immensely just transferring information in our department. So like we'll be looking at a fitting and Deb will be like, oh, this poncho is too shiny. Like, can we age it? And like, we all know what that means, but you tell an animator, like, age this poncho, like, do we make it darker? Do we crack it? Like, no idea. So if I can say like, just in an email, like, hey, can we drop the specular on this poncho 30%? Like, I know that that's going to get her point across. Specular is like literally how shiny an object is in 3D. So I know immediately how to translate that note from her. And that was all self-learning. Like no one told me to do it and no one like pushed me to learn that. But as I was learning, I just was able to bridge this communication gap. And I think that seeing that and learning that in my own time, like it just makes me really passionate to like get other people to learn because, you know, we're all just here to champion costuming. That's what we want to do. So to be able to work in different languages and still do that has been, I've just seen immense growth even in our own department being able to do that. So it wasn't really a learn on the job thing. It was just kind of my own curiosity, but it was really cool to see how that expanded through the 6 years I've been there.
But I think that you knowing that jargon or that language, right? Like, do you have like a legend that you're like, oh, this is what X means when she needs X, like, so that you know, or I guess, God forbid, if something happened to you, is there someone to? I think like, oh, she's not on vacation. Is there someone that? Because like for us, like if I need to talk to somebody in the need to order tailoring, we sort of get the gist of it, but obviously those words are much different than the ones you just used. So
it's like a goal of mine to be able to have almost like a glossary of what these things mean. And I've made a packet. We brought a new vendor in. So I made a packet that was like, this is how we interact with our other vendor. This is how we typically approach processes. And this is how we like to communicate. But I think having a broader education on it would be really helpful. But no, at the moment, it's a lot in my own brain, which that's like step one of costuming is like someone should be able to pick up your continuity book and keep going.
Right.
So work in progress.
And then, but the thing is if someone wanted to like maybe do a job like yours, how would you guide them to that? Like what steps do you suggest? I know we talked about the Adobe suites and some of the technical stuff, but like where does one begin to like look at as a digital ACD?
I find that being curious has been the most helpful. So in my own journey, like I use like LinkedIn as my social media. Anywhere I can get professional insight onto these these different spaces you're trying to exist in. Like people post process videos all the time. And so if you're interested in how costumes would work for animation, like learning how animation works is a huge first step. The same way learning how to sew is a huge first step for costuming. So I think just getting a better understanding of the skills, then when you talk to people, they start listening to you because they know you speak their language. So finding a niche you're interested in and gaining skills there first helps then translate your own skills to it.
I think you're also going to get hit up after this panel too, so just be prepped for that. Can you talk a little bit about the digital continuity as well? Because I think that's also something that you handle as well, right? With when it's coming back and forth between the virtual fittings and...
Yeah, continuity is a beast. There's a reason, like most animated films, the characters have one outfit, and it's because it's so complicated. It's different from live action where, you know, you establish a costume and it's set, it's done, like it's been established. You can change what the character is wearing up until delivery, pretty much. It's so you're also dealing with a lot of people in a lot of departments that don't come from live action or don't have a continuity mindset. You're working with different vendors who don't even see other parts of the scene. So if you've got a supervisor who's looking, we're different because we have costume changes. It's set up very similar to a live action film with our changes. Within every change, you have accessory continuity on top of that. And if a supervisor is looking at a scene and he's like, oh, that visor doesn't work in this shot, take it off. Now we get a note that the visor's off in that scene. Okay, well, then he has to have it off in the rest of the shot or the rest of the scene. Okay, but he went flying 10 scenes ago. We got to take it off for this whole sequence. Okay, well, if he's flying somewhere new, then he didn't bring the visor. So now every time we see him in a visor again, it should be a new visor because he would have theoretically, like, there's so much to build on. And that's like a Tuesday. Like that happens all the time.
That sounds insane.
And so we have a 705 coordinator who is our continuity coordinator. Like that's her full-time job. And the whole department still does it because it's like you have to QC scenes. The people working on the scenes are updating so many things that like they might miss an update and then the visor does switch in one shot and go back. And if we don't catch it, it gets way too far down the pipeline. So we have to have eyes on every shot, be in every review, just making sure these updates are getting populated. And so it's like being a set continuity person, but you're just gonna look at a shot 800 times.
I feel like I triggered some PTSD.
Can you tell?
I'm so sorry. But that's got to be challenging because you're here in the States and they're in New Zealand. So how does that work with the time change?
We have a lot of late night reviews. The hours are grueling, but it's great because they're not around in the morning to bug me to clean up the mess that was made from the night before.
That's insane. So for those who don't know, Brittany, my teammate over there, is also a vice president of our sister local 705. And I still remember the first show that you and I did together, Shonda's How to Get Away with Murder, and how fun that was to cross-board all those bloody murderous outfits, all 15 episodes. And now that you're on 911 as the ACD, do you find the TV has become more like mini movies and tighter in those 8 to 10 shooting days?
8 to 10 shooting days.
That's how we shot murder.
That's not how I shoot anything now. I know, that's why I'm asking. I know, like, oh Lord. It's not tighter at all. I feel like it's the wild, wild west now. Literally, I think our episodes on 911, and I've been there since the end of season 3, skipped one season to do something else still at 911. So I was still there for the madness. We can have an episode last like 2 months. Like we just don't close episodes. I literally right now, I am still doing episode 1, but somehow we're about to start episode 6 because we're skipping episode 5 because it's Halloween and it's not done yet. So it's a very interesting landscape right now. And that doesn't include the double ups, which actually tend to be triple ups, or they're lying to you and saying that it's going to be a split, but it's really just a double up. It's interesting to roll with the punches and how long you're filming something that you thought you were done with. But I will say we got lucky this season because we have a second ACD, which has been phenomenal. I love working with her. Her name is Gabby. She's phenomenal. She just got in. But it really helps to be able to focus on an episode and have her kind of support and pick up the pieces from the last episode, or for me and my boss, Elena, to move on to something and be like, okay, Gabby, the next episode is this. Can you do the research on this? Or can you go upstairs and grab these things and then we can all review this together? It offers a lot of extra help because, like as David said, it's madness. It's less time, less money, less bodies, but it's literally a movie. It's a 45-minute movie that we're trying to make happen with $2 and 3 people and a wing and a prayer. It feels impossible. It is very accomplishing. You feel good when you got it done, but I will say you also feel a little angry because it's like you keep asking me for the impossible and I keep succeeding at it. So you don't
do it again.
Yes, every time.
And you don't get rewarded for it.
Ever. Every time. Every time. But
So what do you think is the best ways to help you and your department when working with these storylines with so much blood and so much dirt and such a and you have so many day players that get killed or hurt or rescued? Like, how do you keep sane, or what's the best technique to help you and your new teammate, Gabby?
honestly, it's the entire department. I find that Elena uses me to help her hire, which I think is great because having the support of your ACD and who your team and your family is going to be is incredibly important. We all have to mesh well. We all have to gel. We have to work it's like a beautiful ballet of chaos. And if we had a season where it was difficult, we had a lot of people who just were not ready for the type of show that it is. It's a hard show. You have to take yourself mentally out of what you're used to in most shows. And that's hard for a lot of people. And I get it. It was hard for me at first. But once you do, and then you realize I have the support of my key, or my coordinator is incredibly useful at helping me with this singular thing that I know nobody else can do. Or my PA. Oh my gosh. I always tell my PAs, I can't do my job without you. If you were not here, I would not be able to do this job at all. Every single one of you in my department is just as important as the other person. Without one person, this entire thing falls apart. So to me, having a solid team that understands the end goal and also understands that this is not going to be perfect. We're all going to have a lot of struggles, personal. Sometimes it might come into the office, but I'm here to support you through that, just like I'm here to support you through the work that we do every day. So I think the team to me is the literally from my show, it's the way that we kind of are able to get through and succeed at executing everything so well.
So it's not just fireman uniforms.
Child. And
Are you sure?
I just need everybody to know how crazy this show is. There's several people in here that work on this show, okay? I'm talking to you and you over there. They tailored the turnouts, the firefighter turnout in the first season. So now when there's a principal actor, we have to tailor a firefighter. Why are you doing that? It's a fire. Let him go in the fire.
But isn't it sexier that way?
I don't care about sex. I want to get this done and go home to go to sleep. And now we're here for 6 hours. My poor Taylor just sewing a turnout. It's wild. It is wild. But
they're fitted, right?
Oh, they are fitted.
The inch of their life.
I've heard stories about how they couldn't bend over in some of their uniforms in the first rescue because they said everybody's pants started to split open because they were tailored within an inch of their life. But I mean, we scaled back a little bit.
You've given a little ease, a little lunchroom.
Well, we had to because we don't have time. We don't have time to tailor everything within an inch of its life. So we definitely have scaled back significantly, but still trying to, preserve an aspirational LA aesthetic.
But you didn't start in costumes. You actually started in fashion in New York, right? And
Yes.
working on magazines, and you moved out here and then got nominated in 2023 for an Emmy.
Yes.
For costume designer Don Dawson. And then you're like, hey, why not shift it a little bit? And in 2022, you decided to work with line producer Bob Williams Jr. on 911, because obviously you love that show.
Love
And so-
it up.
Working on the other side of that is, you have to tell us, were you able to educate the producers of exactly what we needed? Because I feel like if you're on the other side, you're like, hey, guess what? They do need that extra person or that extra shopper. No? Yes?
we are very lucky. Our line producer is insane. I will say that. Like, he does all the scheduling, which is insane. No, like, I've never seen somebody do scheduling like this. But what I will say is I think because he's worked on so many Ryan Murphy shows that he understands that our department is an integral part of what the show has to offer. Like, I think him and Lou kind of butted heads at one point in time, and she kind of handed his ASS to him. And I think from that point on, he understood, like, we aren't just putting the clothes on the bodies. Like, if there's something that we aren't capable of doing, I can say to him, like, we can't do that. We need either 10 more people or we need you to push that a day. And he'll say, okay, let me see what I can do. And I think when I worked with him, I could kind of reinforce that to him. And he's asking me, do you think they really need this time? I said, well, yes, because you decided to do the biggest football scene next Monday and Tuesday, and now they have no time to prep because you also did not give them their casting in time. So they need even more time than that, and maybe more people. But, you know, let's give them what we can afford to give, and they're going to do the best that they can. This season, again, because less money, less people, like, we've cut people to get the extra ACD. There's a lot of give and take that I can see that it's above him. It's not just the line producer. I can see what the NBAs are telling our overall producer to do to get our line producer to tell us that we have to do this, this, and this. So I think for me, it helps me kind of be more transparent with myself about where it's coming from. Like, it's not just because he hates us. It's genuinely because the bottom line is how much money can we save doing a 3-episode cruise crash with 17 million day players and wet clothes and no continuity because we're shooting it all out of order and we don't have a script. I get it. Doesn't make it easier. No, that I understand how it works on the other side, and I was able to have a little bit of influence. Being back on this side, it actually makes it more frustrating, to be honest.
It's almost like you know better.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So speaking of fashion, there's a few CDG members who have been contestants of Project Runway and have transitioned into styling and design. Stanley, you have now become a union costume designer thanks to your collaboration with Miss Michelle Cole, earning you 3 Emmy nominations for your work on Grownish. Would you say that your knowledge of custom-made and tailoring gave you the necessary skills to help with your teammates like Bob Mackey, Deborah Scott, Lou Eyrich in 705 before coming over to the light side of 892?
Yeah, oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, all that. And also just the sense of, like, growing up with a grandmother who just was very stylish and just giving me the tools to sort of see things before they sort of transitioned or became into fruition. Like, in front of us, it's all that information that was given to me as a little kid just sort of blossomed when I met all these different people who helped me sort of get to this place. I knew that I wanted to do fashion. I knew I wanted to do a lot of fashion, but fashion just sort of became stagnant after a while. And once I got to the side of costuming and realized there's a whole different world telling stories and characters and building characters and using fashion in a way that's ugly, I would say. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like an artistic way of just like telling stories and just being whatever it is. But yeah, it became more interesting to me. And then working like with Lou and then Michelle and Bob, it's all different people, but still telling a story. So yeah. And
different genres and different speeds, right? And then let's talk about the myth of how easy contemporary shows are. Because, you know, they're much easier than recreating period or futuristic worlds. I mean, you guys just buy it off the rack, right? That's what you guys do there at Grownish.
Contemporary is not as easy as it looks. It's actually building from not only your knowledge of fashion and shopping, but also color theory, building, the speed at which you have to do it in, and all those different elements sort of come together to help you sort of get your point across.
Also fit too, because just because you wear the jeans in life doesn't mean it looks good on camera, right?
Exactly. And also, there's this subtle nuances of certain things, of certain people. Like, if you look at how we're all dressed, it's the personality that sort of you have to translate through the actor and the story, and they all sort of have to sort of blend together to sort of get the point across. So yeah.
Well, Grownish is also really high fat. There's some really great fashion, but also like reasonable. It's not like crazy, but I feel like you guys really did some beautiful stuff that maybe would be a little more on the high fashion side than contemporary, but still, it wasn't like it pulled you out of the scene. They were always really well done as a ensemble cast.
Well, it was a fantasy too. I mean, college students who dress like that in college. But still, again, it's through the lens of Kenya Barris and Michelle Cole, who sort of have a legacy of doing things their way and pattern mixing and over the top. But it's still the balance of making it believable and beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, beautiful job. Absolutely beautiful job. One of our most incredible assets here in LA is studio services. From Bloomingdale's, Macy's, Nordstrom's, the late Barney's, and now Saks. Rochelle, can you tell us a little bit about how you got in as a dual card holder to CDG and 705?
Yes, I actually got my start at Saks Studio Services, and that's how I met a lot of costume designers and stylists. My background is in fashion design, and I had these big dreams and aspirations of having my own clothing line and getting it on the red carpet, and I thought working at Saks would make that happen. It was a lot. It was like pulling back the reality. I had a reality check. It wasn't quite so simple, but I did get to learn more about the world of costume design, and I fell in love with that side of things. So I started asking a lot of questions, and what do I need to do to get into this? Is there like a special secret pass that I can do to get into it? And, everyone was really welcoming, and they gave a lot of really good advice. And I became friends with a lot of costume designers, including my mentor, Tracy, who was a big part of how I got into both of the unions. And a funny story about that, I got into
You got to tell it.
Yes. So I got into 892 about 2 hours before I got into 705. And she had given me my first ACD job on a pilot, but the studio was requesting that I had to take this harassment class. But for some reason, it wasn't available to me on 892. So it was only available through the 705 platform. So I had to join 705. I had the hours and everything, but it was going to take about 2 weeks. And I only had literally till the next morning. Otherwise, I was going to lose my job. So I went to 705 and I said, is there anything that you can do to help to expedite the process? I will literally do anything. Like, please help me out. I don't want to lose this opportunity, and I'm very excited about it. And she said, well, if you can bring me 3 recommendation letters within the hour and a resume and all of this and bring it to me, I can get this ball rolling. I'm like, okay. So I nodded and I said yes. And I called Tracy and I was like, this is what we need to do. She's like, I'll help you get the recommendation letters. And we did. And so I went back to 705 with a bouquet of flowers and some cookies to say, and a thank you card. And I was like, thank you so much. Here's everything you asked for. And she looked at me a little shocked because she didn't realize that I was going to make it happen. And so an hour later, I got into 705. I took the class that I needed, and I got to start work the next day. Yeah.
So Marguerite, what was you? And speaking of Tracy, you both received 2 CDGA nominations last year for your work on Poker Face season 1 and short form. It was amazing. And it was the first year the CDG recognized the ACD category. What did that mean to you?
It was awesome. I mean, especially for the 2 projects that we got nominated for. I guess every project is really challenging, but I felt like Poker Face and that Doritos commercial were both extremely challenging. So to be honored for those 2 things, I felt really good. It just
awesome.
felt really, really good.
It was beautiful work. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then David, congratulations on your nomination for your work with Kate Adair for Perry Mason season 2. Which is not the first time you've worked as an ACD on period shows with her, correct?
That's right. I did 2 seasons of Man in the High Castle with Kate as well.
And that's not how you met her as an ACD, though, right? You came in as a cutter fitter on a period show?
Yeah, I've been in 705 for 18 years as a pattern maker. And I started in New York, ACDing and working in theater as a pattern maker as well. I used to have a custom-made costume house here in LA. And Kate came through when she was designing Desperate Housewives. So I had made a bunch of clothes for Desperate Housewives for Kate. And then we sold our company and I started freelancing, working on shows. And Kate hired me as her pattern maker to go to Austin, Texas, to do a show called The Sun with Pierce Brosnan that was set in 1849 and 1915 at the same time in every episode. And it was AMC, and AMC did not allow people to have ACDs. So I ended up sort of working not necessarily outside of what a cutter fitter would do or should do, but I did a lot more. I was a lot more involved in her design process because we were also in Texas, and there's nothing in Texas. We got to Austin the day that Hancock Fabrics was going out of business, literally, like no joke. So there was no resources. So, you know, if you didn't bring it with you, you didn't really have it. So we ended up finding out that there were some fabric stores in Houston. And so Kate, and the scripts were, of course, you didn't have all the scripts when you started because you never have all the scripts when you start. So you don't really know what you need. You just know that you're in these two time periods in a border town in Texas. So she'd be like, okay, well, we got the script. Have you read it? And we're like, so we're going to do this and this and this. Well, I'm going to go to Houston and go to the fabric store. And me being the pattern maker and not having known Kate all that well, you know that sometimes fabric choices can make or break what you're working on. So I was like, great, give me 10 minutes. I'm going to get the workroom laid out and I'm coming with you. So that's how my relationship with Kate started. Like, we hopped in the car, we drove 2 hours to Houston. We went to a fabric store that was amazing, believe it or not, this little fabric store run by this amazing man. And we sort of built our own fabric store from this. So we'd be like, okay, so we know she's going to need a blouse and a skirt. Okay, this is a blouse. And we put that down. Okay, well, we'll need a skirt to go with that. Let's put that down. And, we think she's going to need a fancy dress. Oh, this is amazing trim. This reads like the right thing. Great. And we made piles and like, this is a dress and this is an evening gown and this is a blouse. And we just bought as much as we could buy and got in the car and drove back to Houston or to Austin and created our own store that way. So as things came up, we could do it. But anyway, that's how my relationship with Kate started. So we survived that, came back to LA, and then Kate got hired to do season 3 of Man in the High Castle. And she said, I would love for you to come work with me again, but I would like you to be my assistant designer here in the States. So I joined the guild, and since she knew my skill set, it played to my skill set to have me here in the States because we sourced all the fabric here for the show. We sent it all up there. I oversaw all the pulling and the shipping of everything. She knew that I had the period chops and the aesthetic. And I would pull and fit all the secondary characters down here for her. So it was a really wonderful sort of soft entry into being an ACD without having to deal with the enormity of the department up there. I was able to step into it and learn it all. So it was really a really wonderful and graceful way to enter for me. I'm really grateful for that.
Did you feel it was a steep learning curve though? Because
For sure.
logistically though, for international and just knowing how to do the carnets of it.
Yeah, that's a whole other part of it, the shipping and all of it. And because like Stanley comes from the workroom also, like you have your own little world there, and I didn't necessarily know how the rest of it happens or like how to do any of the logistical part of all of it. So that was a great way to learn it from a distance and to step into all of that. It was really, really perfect for me. And I'm really grateful for Kate bringing me along in that way.
I mean, that's a good first ACD job, I would say, for some of us getting thrown in.
And for her, because she didn't have to worry about somebody who knew how to do fittings, somebody who could, handle all of that, who knew how to handle actors in a room. I had already done that with her and had been doing it for years. So it really was a perfect fit.
That's awesome. And then this is for the group. Many of you have worked with the same designer, like with Kate, for years. Do you recommend that process, or do you recommend working with many designers to widen your skill set?
I think that well, for me, I mean, having one steady is always a good jumping, just a sort of a base. And she's always encouraging me to go see other designers, test other designers out, but I kind of work my way back because I just like it over there. But it is like you learn so much, and it's like even like I wasn't Lou's ACD, but working with her gave me another skill set to bring back home. Working with other designers and seeing how other designers' work or just other ACDs. It's like it gives you another skill set to bring back home. So it's always good to leave. And sometimes you regret it, but other times you're grateful.
I think I felt really green for a really long time when I started, and I was having a hard time getting a foothold and feeling like, okay, the skills I've learned in this department, I can jump into the next department and feel just as confident. And getting to work with a mentor kind of gave me the confidence to be able to now go out and use the skills. And I know how to assist a designer. I know the things I need to learn about a designer and about a team to feel like I can do the job well. And that took working with one person until you knew them better than you know yourself, like what they need. And now that you know what to look like personally, now that I know what to look for, I feel way more confident to be able to go and do that for other people. But until I had someone who trusted me and I built that trust with them, I don't think I would have had the confidence to go do that with other people.
Yeah, it's really great when you develop a relationship with the person that you're working with and you develop like a shorthand language. I mean, I could tell what she was thinking from just a look sometimes. There is a lot of good things to come from learning from different people, which is something I'm learning now too. So I think there's benefits to both. I loved how I started and getting to know someone really well. And now I get to share those with other people and learn some new things. So I think it's great.
I'm with Stanley also. It's great to have the established relationship, but it's good to go away, learn how other people do things, and then it's good to come home. Because I feel like, at least in my case, the more I work with Kate, the more of a language we have with each other. And as Rochelle said, there's a look. I know when something's going well or when something's not going the way we might like it to do. And you can adjust and usually save things without really having to make it an issue in front of whoever you're in front of, because you know each other so well. As her knowledge of me and her trust of me has increased, it also has given me the opportunity to do more and to take on more responsibility within the department and to learn the things that I don't know. If the next step for me is to be a designer, she is there teaching me. And I think that the larger parts of that job don't get passed off until they have a trust in you and you've built a relationship. So I think establishing that relationship and doing multiple projects is really a great way to do that. And so that you are more comfortable and more ready to step up if that's the plan for you.
Also, I think that a lot of designers have a wealth of information that, we get so caught up in who they are or the day-to-day work that we don't take the time to really listen or just even soak up what they're giving you because you're so caught up with the show, with the schedule or whatever. And just being around them and just, something will pop up in you, which is a new thing. And it's another thing you learned. And I think that having that relationship and that trust and those quiet moments sort of give you that knowledge of that person and their skill set.
Absolutely. And we have some students and newer ACDs here in the room. What would you say is the number one skill you believe we need as ACDs when you're starting out?
I think two things that I have found to be helpful. One is listening. Listen and hear what's happening. And to everybody, the designer clearly, but to your supervisor, to your coordinator, to everybody, just listen and hear what people are saying before you want to jump in with a solution or with what you think is right, because that might not be the right thing for the situation or for your department. You never know. You really want to start with that. And then the next thing that I always remind myself of is leading by example. A lot of us complain about abuse. A lot of us complain about people not knowing how to treat or talk to other people. Well, that starts with you. If as a department head, I keep remembering that I am one, but as a department head, I have to remember, how I carry myself or how I manage myself and others is how people are going to also do the same in my department. And I have found, I love my department. We have a really fun time. People come into our office and they say, oh, it is so calm. Lou literally walks into our office and says, "You guys are always so happy. How are you so happy and calm all the time?" And it's really just because we love each other and we want to take care of each other, especially as a department head. I want to make sure that whatever chaos is going on set or in the production office, the rest of my department doesn't have to feel that, because we're managing things so well at the top. Like, we're going crazy, but they don't need to know that. And they also don't need to go through that. So I want to be, even in my most frustrated times, if I can be kind to them or say, like, I'm having a really bad day, can you give me 5 minutes and I'll come right back to you and we can figure this out together, instead of going off or barking at somebody. And even if I do that, I still come back and apologize and say, like, I'm very sorry. Things are rough. It's a little crazy, but girl, how you doing today? You know, just leading by example, being like sympathetic, empathetic, and just kind is super important.
Piggybacking off what Brittany's saying, the soft skills in general, being able to communicate, being able to understand the needs of your department and other departments, not undervaluing other team members. We're all designers. That's why we're here. That's why we're in this room. Those skills come with time, but the ability to communicate, to work as a team, to listen to what people need. And I agree, like, the best day at work is when you've solved a problem and your higher ups don't need to know about it and your team members don't need to know about it. You've taken care of it. Like, you do have to front some of that weight, but I think that being able to do that and manage that and not have that outwardly reflect against other people, the other skills come with that. It's about being personable first.
And being able to think quickly on your feet and adaptable to any situation that can arise, because you may go into the day thinking that this is the set plan, this is what we're going to do, and then you get there and then it's all different. They pull up a scene from a different episode and you're like, we haven't even talked about this yet, but sure, we will make this happen. But yeah, just being ready for anything that can come your way and adapting, because nothing is ever set in stone.
I'm going to piggyback on that and just say, being, willing to adapt and just pivot and just use those skill sets that you have. We're all creative people and we are somewhat sensitive sometimes, but it's never about you. It's always about the bigger picture and just being willing to be ready.
It's a little bit like improv. It's like yes and, because things will change. And I mean, that's the one constant and the one thing that never changes is that things will always change. So rather than getting stuck in being angry that they've changed and you're not prepared for it, you literally have to be like, okay, we can handle this and we will do this. And how do we do that? And how do we stay gracious? And how do we not, you can go and have your own little flip out and then turn around and be like, okay, great. Hey guys, I'm going to need all your help. It's really about enlisting people and making sure that they feel like they're part of the process and that they're not minions, that, they're all contributing something that you're not, so that everyone feels their value. So I think, there's lots of stuff. There's time management, there's computer things, there's all that, but it's really about intrapersonal skills, like, and talking to people. Like, you have to be comfortable talking to people, which can be hard. So I think that's a big thing, maybe, is what I would say is the most important thing, is really learn on how to be comfortable talking to people you don't know, and communicating clearly, because that is 80% of the job, is being a clear communicator.
And follow through. I think sometimes people, even as a second ACD, sometimes they don't tell you something's wrong. They don't say something. They're so afraid. But like you said, communication is very important, to just say, hey, I couldn't find these green pants, but I found this. Is this okay? Or we couldn't hem those pants in time. What do you want me to do? So I think follow through is important. And then some of you are dual card holders in 705. Do you see the ACD position becoming more accepted as a day player for shopping and fittings? That myth that they can only have one seems to be becoming less of a thought, because I know some shows are getting second ACDs instead of keys.
Yeah.
Well, yes, Brittany.
Again, with the give and take, negotiating what your needs are, you can have that. And we also did have a couple people come and shop for us who we did it through 892 and not 705, just because that's the choice that we made. We asked the person clearly which one they wanted, because most of them are dual card holders. But yes, starting to see that. Whereas before I thought it was interesting because everybody was like, oh, the studios don't like ACDs. None. You can't have one. You just want to have a key and they'll be your ACD, but then you can't have another key. Like I'm noticing, and I think because of the volume of what we're having to do now, that they're more understanding of the capabilities of what an ACD has to offer instead of singularly having a costumer, even though like a lot of costumers can do the same thing. It's different. It's saying that as a person who does both things. So I'm seeing that the more you kind of butter them up about it, the easier it is to kind of be like, okay, well, this person is capable of doing this thing. Can we just do that? It makes it easier for us in our department because I can have this person come in and do fittings, shopping, polls, like literally the list goes on and on of the things that that person can see and understand. Whereas opposed to somebody who maybe is just a key doesn't sometimes get the full scope of what's needed. So they've been saying yes a lot more.
It's also time is money and money is time. So you give them, present it to them in a way where it's like, if you want this done here, then I need this person throughout the whole run of the series. And it's going to cost you. And sometimes the skill set that ACDs bring to the whole production or the department is, I would say, much more of an asset than just a customer.
And then for the group, one more. Where do you guys see the ACD position going in the future? I mean, obviously it's going to be more work, but I mean, I feel like the ACD position has become more respected, maybe. But I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's become digital now that we have that particular thing. And now 7 to 5 has a digital kind of, but if you guys think of like the future of that position, and if you don't, that's okay too.
I don't know if I see it as the future, but I feel like what I've seen in the last 10 years is that the ACD has become more visible to other departments because we now cover a much larger swath of things that happen within the department. And, the way film and TV is right now and streaming and even network, it's not Murder, She Wrote anymore, if you all know what that is. It's not like 5 people who are the main cast and a few guest stars and like 15 people wandering through the town. Like it's, the regulars are like, there are 15 regulars and you have 20 guest casts and there's 400 background. Like, so, we've been moved into a much more visible position within the department. So I think that, I don't know if that's where it's going, but that's sort of where we've come. So we've elevated ourselves by being excellent. Like everyone in this room who does this job is excellent. There's no way to not be excellent and do this job. So I think we've done ourselves a service by rising to the occasion and exposing the other departments to who we are and what we do. So I think that's where we're going, and it's only going to get bigger and better.
No, it's great. So I'd like to open it up to the audience if anyone has any questions.
Hello. Okay, so what's the best part of being an ACD and what's the worst part of being an ACD?
That's a trick question.
Is that because Tracy's here?
I guess I'll start. The best part for me is getting to be involved in the creative process and helping to create the characters and helping to tell the story, especially on Poker Face. It was hard, but and she always makes fun of me for saying that it was my favorite project that we worked on. But it was like a mini movie every episode. So getting to see how that got to come together and then being an integral part of it, that's my favorite part. The least, I guess just sometimes the hours can get a little frustrating and you're on a flat. So you're there sometimes the first person to arrive and the last to leave. And I will absolutely do that. It's not that I'm complaining about it, but it gets rough. So I would think that is the least favorite part of the day. But I'll do it because I'm here.
I would say using sort of all the tools in the toolbox as far as being creative, helping with the crew, just managing like money and just being all around the support for not only the designer but the crew. And the worst part is, like you said, like the flat. It's just, you're there and you love the work that you do. You also want to be appreciated, and so
I think I'm really grateful for my designer listening to me, listening to design inputs, getting to work in the field that you dream about working in, getting to make beautiful things. But the hardest part for me is like having to support my designer when she loses a battle. When you care so much about something, and when something gets taken away from you, or a producer tells you no, or you're also a bit of the support system, and so it devastates you just as much as it devastates your designer. And so trying to find solutions, and how do you spin this? How do you keep them positive to keep the team positive? I think we become middlemen a lot for that, and that's a big challenge. It was a big learning curve.
I don't know if it's my favorite part. I don't know what the favorite, but the best part for me is like a giant day on set. And it's the first day that you're filming that thing. And you've spent weeks or months doing fittings and custom making and doing the principals in the background and coordinating with the art department and the set decorator and all the things. And you walk onto the set and the magic happens. That's the thing that keeps me coming back. Like, it's so exciting and so singular. It is an experience that so few people get to have, that I think for me, that's the thing that makes me get up at whatever hour and do it again and do it again. Because there's a magic that's not quantifiable, but it's something that touches me. So I think that's my favorite part of it. The thing that is the worst and is just, I have no other word for it, but exhausting, is to constantly have to justify what we do, why it's important, why it costs money, and just why do we have to keep justifying ourselves, and why our department and what we do is just as important as everything else on the show.
If you actually did have a vacation and you could just sit on a beach somewhere and sip a Mai Tai and allow your brain to dream, what would be your dream job? Would you still be an ACD? Would you be a CD? Would you be, driving a truck somewhere? What would be your dream job, your career pinnacle? What do you dream of?
It's funny. This is not relevant to the beach, but I constantly at work find myself doing the scene in Devil Wears Prada where Emily's at her desk and she's like, I love my job. I love my job. Because it's true. It's so stressful, but I wouldn't want to do anything else. I feel like I got to where I've been striving to get so long. And sometimes just taking a moment to sit there and be like, this is what you worked for. You should be proud of yourself. That, it keeps reminding me that I do love what I do, and I love assisting my designer. And maybe eventually I'd like to design, but for now it feels really good to be that support system. And so I'd love to go on vacation and then go back to work.
I think for me, I am just a creative person, period. And so I love my job. I love being creative, but I love painting and building canvases, and the bigger the better. And I think that I've sort of turned the corner into that realm of feeding that part of my creativity. And it's because of this job. So it's sort of one piece the other. So I do love my job, even though it's crazy.
No, I do love my job. I love being creative. I hope to design someday. I always joke about running away with the circus because I actually do perform in a circus sometimes. So I feel like sometimes the best of both worlds would be owning my own circus and designing all the costumes for every performance.
That's amazing.
So I guess my question, it really just starts with, we all know that the success of an ACD is really reliant on your working relationship with your lead. So my question is, I'd love to hear some advice, or words of hope in a time where there's such struggle in finding opportunities when you don't already have that CD connection. So I'd love to hear looking forward, looking into the future of surviving to 2025, or a lot of talk and buzz is around. you all seem to have had such success with your CDs for a substantial amount of time. Do you have any advice for someone who hasn't found that connection yet?
Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and talk to people. And that's something that I still struggle with to this day. I get intimidated. Sometimes I'm like, they're just people. I'm just going to talk to them and make a connection. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for what you want and go after the people and just go for it, basically. Just talk to
a lot of
whoever.
times too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but all of us have been sort of true to ourselves, just being our authentic selves, just doing our own thing, and the designer will just see what we have or what we have to offer to their department or to them, and they just bring us along, and it becomes sort of a give and take relationship as we grow. And I think that if you have something that you really believe in, just let that shine. The light will get you there.
I also want to add, have a bunch of ACD friends. Like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna call you out. Cece is super helpful. She's with customers and ACD. She's always connecting us. She's always connecting us to other people who are connected to designers. I find also it's a great space for us to just complain. Or vent. It is. It's a really difficult time right now. We are all very privileged. We are very lucky. Yeah. It doesn't matter how frustrating our jobs get. I know we all go home and we thank God or whoever we pray to or not that we are in the positions that we are in. But having other ACDs has been incredibly helpful. My boss was an ACD and she was we PA'd together. So yeah, she's somebody who I've been around for forever, but she did see something in me. But still, continuously, all the other people I know who I've connected with designers have all been through other ACDs.
I think it's quick to get intimidated by feeling like you need a mentor, you need somebody. And kind of like what Stanley was saying, like being proud of yourself and your work and then having a network. It's not about impressing a designer so they take you under their wing, right? It's about having the confidence to know what you do and what you can offer, and then having a network of people at your level, right? If an ACD can't take a job, you want to be the person they call to be like, I have an opening. So I don't think you need to be tied to a designer. It's great to have a mentor and to build that, but I don't know about you. I didn't go on to my show with any sort of a relationship to my designer. She seemed untouchable, and I just wanted to do the best I could at my own job, and she appreciated that and then took me under her wing. So I wouldn't get too stressed about feeling like you need that connection to get anywhere. Keep going on your job, make friends, and people will feel that energy and want to help you.
So my career is a little bit different. I joined the Guild in 2009 because my show flipped as a designer. And then I didn't get my first union job until Salvador Perez hired me as his ACD. And I drove my ass all the way to Baton Rouge to do Pitch Perfect 2. And I thankfully am very blessed. I've not repeated my designers, but I've definitely gone after the people that I've wanted to go and design or assistant design with. And I've been very blessed that I have become the vice president. But I think also getting involved in like committees and stuff like that so that people know who you are and what your skill levels are, or just to meet your own things. But it's not, I think it's great that you get to have the same designer, but I haven't had that same path. I've been able to work on different stuff. So it's just, I think if there's a show or an individual that you like, you can also reach out to them too and let them know that you're interested in assisting them, because sometimes that's how you get the next job.
For me, the way my relationship evolved with, I work with Kate Adair and have for 8 years now and 8 projects. The thing that helped that evolve for me was really staying calm and listening to my instincts about who she is as a person. Because I've worked for other people. I've gone back and worked as a cutter in between. And if you come into contact with a person who gets you and who has a generosity that you see, that is a person you want to make yourself available to. Because that's the person that's going to carry you along, that's going to offer what they know to you, and who is going to really help you bloom. At least that's my opinion. And I have been offered jobs that I've said no to that were big, probably impressive jobs that maybe I should have taken because it didn't feel right. And I'm not saying that you should turn down jobs. I'm not saying that any of that. But if you're in a space where you can say yes to the right person rather than taking it for the job, that is what I feel like has helped me be successful, is to follow a person who supports my vision of my future and not their idea of what I need to be for them, and who fosters that. So again, I'm not telling anybody to not take a job. That's not what I'm saying, but that I think is what has helped me be successful, is that I've followed the person that wants me to be successful and is going to help me be successful and is not using me for their success.
Hi, my name is Johnny. I'm a costumer trying to break into the industry, and I was wondering if you had any advice for someone who might struggle with imposter syndrome. I feel like my soft skills are hard and the hard skills are hardening, but I think sometimes the fear overtakes me taking that first step to like introduce myself or say hey or whatever. And so I just was wondering if you had any words of wisdom.
Be delusional. I'm not joking. I'd be delusional. Like the things that you think so little of yourself, but it's funny because everybody is probably around you like, oh my God, look at him. Look at that hair. People are looking at you and like Stanley said earlier, seeing your light. And that doesn't mean that out of fear, you should dim it. You know, like you have to be delusional. You have to be super confident in yourself. Even if you don't have the skills, be delusional that you do. Like I didn't
Fake it till you make it.
Yes, you really do have to fake it. And you have to pour into yourself so much, which is hard sometimes, but you have to take the time to pour into yourself so much that, you know, even if you get the job, all you have to say is, I'm not sure how to do that thing. Can you show it to me? Or have the network where you could call somebody. They asked me to do this. Where do I go? Like you really have to be delusional and delusionally confident in yourself and what you're capable of doing. It's a practice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, because we all started there. Everybody in this room started there. And I replaced another ACD on my show. When she left, I got the position, and I tried to round peg a square hole in that position. So how do I be her? How do I do the job she was doing? What do I do? And it wasn't working with my design. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be here. I'm not supposed to have this job. And I let it go, and I started approaching it with my own design approach and how I would solve a problem, and how like you don't have to be any idea of what you think that role is supposed to be that you're trying to build. You just have to do it authentically and do it, and people are going to appreciate that.
For me, and I think probably for everyone up here, being the ACD, you are the conduit for the department, from everyone in it to the designer back out to the other departments. So for me, that by the end of the day, I'm on people overload. So for me, I have to be sure that I take the time to be quiet with myself. It's not a very exciting life, but when the day is over, I have to go home and be quiet and not have the TV on. And that's just me. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but you have to find that thing that helps you reset, basically. Like the thing that will help you get back to zero so that you can show up the next day. I also try to get up with enough time to sit in the morning for like half hour and just be awake, drink my coffee, and not like get up, get in the shower, get in the car and go, so that I can think about the day and who I want to be as the day goes on.
Different designers I know are kind of looking for different things. And some people want more of a creative assist. Some people want someone who's more organizational. Some people just want like a bestie. So I would love to hear from you guys what you think or what you found to be the most effective ways of getting that clear and making sure that expectations are clear. And if it's more of an organic thing that you like to intuit as you go along and kind of read a person, or if you like to have a little sit down at the beginning, this is where I come from, this is where I come from, what you found to be the most effective.
I haven't worked with that many people, and most of the people that I work with are actually friends. But I still approach it from a professional place, and I like to sit down in the beginning and ask, what would you require of me? What kind of support do you think you need? If you need to chew on that, let me know. Here's what I think I can offer. I do like to start in that place, but then I just kind of let it be very organic because I find that people don't know what they need. They just don't sometimes. And especially when you're coming up against so many like issues or like uphill battles within a project, that the needs can completely shift. And I think that I'm a good reader of people. So I tend to just kind of take a step back and observe. And then from there, I try to jump in and support and help in any way that I can. And I genuinely am a person who like loves to serve. I love to help and support and mentor. Like I love all of that. So to be able to do that with like whoever my lead is at the time, it kind of just comes naturally to me because it's a gift, I guess, that I have. But I try to just take it as organically as possible. And then sometimes tap back in and ask, like, would you prefer if I did this thing for you? If I see that it's taking too much time or labor of them? Or would you prefer if I step back in these fittings? Or do you want to go do that in the office and I'll do the fittings today? Like sometimes you kind of play it by ear.
Yeah, communication, always. Like that's the first part of all of it. Like, what do you need from me? And also just being able to roll with, okay, you don't need that from me today. And being okay with that. And that it's not like 99.9% of the time is not personal. It's just that's where today is. Like, and just being like, okay, great, I'm not going to do that for you today. Today that I'm going to do this, and just communicating. It's not just with your designer, but every person in your department is constantly checking in and seeing what they need or what they don't need and if they're okay.